Is everyone here? Where's Kingston? Maria, pass me my martini. If anyone's responsible, I of course wear all of it. Gawler, Lyndoch, Port Lincoln, and of course the magnificent capital Adelaide, with wide streets and adequate defence from the Russians and French. And as we are all still waiting for history to judge. But oh yes, I digress. It's with the greatest pleasure that I announce the State Library of South Australia Story Wall. Whatever that is, should have been the light wall if you ask me, is officially open! Let there be light! Eternal light, that is.
The mission to collect and preserve South Australia's documentary heritage is as old as the state itself, and the stories, artworks and objects are a treasure to the community and the rest of the world. The library is home to Colonel Light's letters, Sir Don Bradman's personal archive, the art of Rosa Firevash and stories of many other South Australians. Our heritage is unique, and so are our stories. The library's responsibility is to ensure that what is collected is protected, preserved and made available to everyone. The State Library has a long tradition of using the latest technologies to connect South Australians with our state and the world. Housed in state-of-the-art storage, the collections include books, film, sound, images and digital data, and are available to you 7 days a week at the library and 24/7 through our website.
Over the decades, so many little girls have longed to ride as a fairy on the back of Nimble, the big white rocking horse, or Nipper, the little brown pony. Nipper was originally a small brown rocking horse standing just over a metre tall, who stood in John Martin's Magic Cave from 1926 to the 1940s. Over the years, hundreds of small children sat upon his back. He'd begun life as a toy rocking horse in Germany and may have been a gift to one of the Hayward children from his grandparents after a trip overseas. Nimble is always known as the big white horse, but actually he's a dapple grey. The two horses are among the biggest draw cards of the Christmas pageant. They form part of the escort for Father Christmas, and when they appear, pageant goers know that Father Christmas isn't far behind. Want to know more about Christmas pageants of the past? Come inside and discover.
What do Kamal, the Queen Mother, jazzman Dave Brubeck and Adelaide's literary wild child Max Harris have in common? They were all involved with the inaugural Festival of Arts. 55 years on, and South Australia is now known as the Festival State. Discover more about the Festival State during Mad March at the State Library.
Who would believe that from a small trunk full of books collected by Robert Goodyer would come the amazing collections of the State Library of South Australia? They say it fell in the water down at the Port Misery they used to call it, and as they tried to get it ashore, well, of course it sank. And the books in it were really important. What a disaster. Well, so the story goes, the sailors and the new settlers between them managed to haul it from the river. And, you'd never believe it, the books were all right. You can see some of the actual books in the Mortlock chamber. Thanks, Mr. Goodyer.
The Story Wall is the latest place for the State Library to share our stories with you. We're taking our collections to you, bringing the stories alive. We have some favourite stories, some unique collections, and some fascinating insights into what it means to be South Australian. And we'll share them with you. The stories will have a new dimension, and we want you to tell us what you've discovered. If you found the stories humorous, revealing, or enlightening, use the QR code displayed around the forecourt to post your comments direct to us.
Peep show books for children were first produced in the 19th century by the London firm of S&J Fuller to commemorate landmark events. This hand-coloured 1826 Peep show book is from the Children's Literature Research Collection. It presents an expanding perspective of the Great Tunnel constructed under the River Thames. Books in this format later became known as tunnel books because of this first object. The Great Tunnel, designed by Isambard Brunel, took 18 years to complete and was plagued by disaster. However, the book shows the area soon became a pleasant pedestrian walk. Tunnel books are a clever form of paper engineering. The pages are simply cut-out panels placed one behind another. They're then bound together on each side with concertina strips. This allows the book to expand to display the scenes within. The construction allows the viewer to see through a series of openings in the pages from front to back, producing a three-dimensional effect, just like looking down a tunnel. Come and see the Tunnel Book in our Theatre Inside the Book exhibition at the Treasures Wall from the 14th of November to the 27th of March.
Dating back to 1884, the Mortlock Chamber has Harry Potter fans believing that they've arrived on the movie set. Listed as one of the world's most beautiful libraries, this building is both a showcase and functional. Come and visit the chamber yourself. You can join a conducted tour or explore and discover the gems in the individually themed bays. Tours also take you to the upper level, home of the Sir Josiah Simon Library.
Behind you and thinking of what before. Wake up, soldier man.
1st of January 1914. Left Peterhead for Port Pirie at 6:30 a.m. Arrived in Pirie at 4 o'clock p.m. 2nd of January. Made a start for the new year at 7:30 a.m. Knocked off at 5 o'clock after a very easy day's work. Got into bed at 9:30. 20th of January. Still very dusty. The Governor, Sir Dayhort Basanke, visited here today. The people nearly went mad. Would have it he was some extraordinary person the way they worship this class. 29th of January. Things look very black. Every prospect of some being put off this week.
Leaving all behind you and thinking of what before. Wake up, soldier man, rise
6th of February. A horrid day. One continual dust storm, registered 106 in the shade. Things very slack. I got put off today. 14th of February. Arrived at Broken Hill at 9:20. Went and fixed up about a job and bought a pair of boots. 18th of February. Seems to me as if there's plenty of work. Everything going smoothly up to date. Went to the pictures. 9th of March. Monday of another week. Things do not look too prosperous now, as there's every prospect of a strike here. 8th of June. Things are slackening off again. As if there's some prospect of being put off. I spent the evening playing cards.
Have you ever wondered where the library's collections are stored? Storage is imperative to the long-term safekeeping of the collections, and in the basement you'll find 55 kilometres of storage shelves or compactors that hold the majority of the collections on site. For security reasons, the public does not have access to these storage areas.
Generations of South Australians know about Nellie the elephant, who featured in 17 pageants from 1950. She retired, at least temporarily, in 1967. But few people know that Nellie is a British immigrant, originally from Essex, where she was known as Mary. On a visit to England in 1950, John Martin's owner Edward Hayward bought her for £1,500 and paid almost that much again to transport her to Australia, to a new life with a new name. Powered by a car engine, almost 13 feet high, with 9,000 moving parts, the amazingly lifelike mechanical elephant is classified as a car. She therefore had to be registered as a motor vehicle and wear registration plates in the procession. Nellie broke down in more pageants than she finished, but good-natured crowds would always part to allow other members of the procession to push her into a side street, ready to be towed away later. But the breakdowns weren't always her fault. It turned out that her 8-horsepower engine was overheating in the Australian climate.
We hold the stories of our state's daughters and sons, mums and dads, uncles, aunts, grandparents and grandchildren, and a whole lot of other relies that you probably don't even know about. Every one of them has a story. So make the State Library your first port of call to find out more.
Have you heard the story of Bob the railway dog? Bob lived long ago. His story begins as one of a number of homeless dogs being transported from Adelaide to outback South Australia to become a rabbit hunter. That's not Bob. Saved from this destiny by Bill Ferry, Bob the railway dog became one of the wonders of his time by travelling all over South Australia, as far as Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, always travelling by train and finding a welcome meal and a sleeping place with the train driver and his family. That's not Bob. Every traveller knew Bob and all the children adored him. That's not Bob. For a time, Bob went missing, stolen by a sheep farmer. However, when Bob heard the whistle of the train, Bob made his escape. That's not Bob. Ah, that's Bob. After this incident, a commercial traveller made Bob a collar with a legendary inscription. Stop me not, but let me jog, for I am Bob, the driver's dog. Where's the picture of Bob on the train? That's not it.
To find what you're looking for, just do a keyword search in our online catalogue.
Look, here's Bob the dog on the train.
I want to thank 5AD and John Martins for giving a crowd of children so much joy today. My husband and I invited about 15 kiddies from the neighbourhood, and some came miles on their horses to us. They all sat on the floor before the radio and listened as though they could really see the pageant. All of them, all ages, were thrilled as never before by that broadcast.
The State Library is much more than our spent service area or our historic buildings. Come in and discover your hub. It is a place to access Wi-Fi, do personal study, online research, or just relax. Your hub is located on the western side of the ground floor.
During World War I, the South Australian Red Cross Information Bureau performed the valuable service of undertaking research inquiries from the family and friends of some 8,000 missing Australian Imperial Forces personnel. These stories will feature here in early 2016.
Do you know the natural resources of South Australia that we all treasure? Visit the Treasures Wall and see everything South Australian, from wool to vines, from minerals to abalone. Within the display cabinets you'll find items from the collections. They tell stories on particular themes, and exhibitions change regularly. Our ambassadors are happy to tell you more. Take a tour of the Treasures Wall.
In 1958, the Blue Honour Line was introduced. After 25 years, the pageant was attracting such large numbers that children and parents were increasingly crowding across the streets to get a better view. In some places, this made it difficult for the floats to get through. And so, a new idea was introduced, the Blue Honour Line. Ringing out from loudspeakers on police courtesy cars on pageant morning went this message.
Any little boy or girl who Father Christmas sees with toes over the Blue Honour Line will not receive a present for Christmas.
And every year since 1958, the thin blue line is repainted on both sides of roads along the pageant route.
Who was Leo Terrell? We know from his diaries that 25-year-old Frederick Leopold Leo Terrell was an ironworker who was just arriving back from work in Broken Hill when war was declared in August 1914. Frustrated by the lack of work in South Australia, he enlisted for service on the 9th of February 1915 before joining the Royal Australian Navy bridging train. Following several months of training, Terrell left Australia on the 3rd of June 1915 and served with the AIF at Gallipoli. He later served with the 12th Field Artillery Battery on the Western Front in Europe. Did Leo find fulfilment in the service of his country? Did he return safely to his sweetheart Clara? The Anzac Diaries of Leo Terrell are among the stories to be featured in the Story Wall in 2016.
Christmas is a time for gift giving. The latter years of the 20th century saw a resurgence in pop-up books, and Christmas and nativity scenes were repackaged into novelty formats. Publishers, on a wave of their popularity, were quick to breathe new life into Christmas classics like Dickens' Christmas Carol, The Nutcracker, and The 12 Days of Christmas. Tiny pop-up books with their intricate use of paper folding made excellent stocking fillers. Soon, 3D nativity scenes and pop-up Santas flooded the market to appear under Christmas trees. Czechoslovakian artist Wojciech Kubasta was one of the most prolific and inventive paper engineers in the history of children's pop-up book design. He produced hundreds of titles and objects. His most iconic children's publications are portfolio-sized trifold books. They end with large, richly coloured double-page pop-ups. Kubasta's great legacy was to inspire a new generation of artists and authors to continue the artistry of pop-up books. We were fortunate to have been in contact with Dagmar, Kubasta's daughter, earlier this year. She said of her father, he was such a wonderful gentleman, how pleasing it is that people continue to take an interest in his work.
Want to know more? Everything you see is from the State Library's collections, creatively enhanced by Illuminate. Come back to see the Story Wall every night from sunset, with special features and new stories added regularly.